In this video, I'm going to explain the three math problems that you worked in the previous activity, and I would, in your notes, write down one of these examples. The last one is the hardest, so you might want to choose that, but at least have one of these examples in your notes, and you have a place in your slideshow to put that information. So, two companies rent vans for people who are moving. ABC Rental charges 25 cents per mile and a flat fee of $28 for gas and cleaning. Rocket Rental charges 26 cents per mile and a flat fee of $42 for gas and cleaning. Explain how you can write and solve an equation to find the number of miles for each where the total cost is the same for both companies. Now, before I start, remember the reason why you might want to do this is to try to figure out which one is cheaper for you based on how many miles you have to travel. So I'm going to use the problem-solving plan that you looked at in your activities today. Given. So we know from the story problem that ABC charges 25 cents per mile and 28 cents for gas, and I didn't write cleaning there, but you got it. It's a flat fee. And then Rocket Rental charges 20 cents per mile and 42 for gas. So since one of them's higher than the other and vice versa, for the miles, ABC is higher, but for the Rocket Rental, the fee for gas is higher. That's the reason why it might be important to start with an equation. But what do they want me to know? The number of miles where the cost for each is the same. And that word same is very important because if we can come up with an equation for each one of those rental companies, then we know that that word same means that they're going to equal each other. So whatever that equation is, we're going to want them to be equal to each other. So my plan is I need equation for each rental company, and your plan might just be the first step that you're going to take. So I wrote an equation. So I did go ahead and put down that the ABC rental company and the Rocket rental company are going to be equal because we are looking for the total cost when they are the same. And then for ABC, I said 25 cents per mile and used the word per to mean multiplication, but here's why. Because not every time you see the word per is it going to mean to multiply. But I can do a quick, simple check to think if I have 1 mile, that's a quarter. If I have 2 miles, that's 50 cents. If I have 3 miles, that's another quarter. So that quarter is being up over and over again, depending upon how many miles I drive. So that's how I can make sure that I am interpreting that word per correctly. So I'm going to pay for my mileage and I'm going to pay for the gas and cleaning. Those are two costs that are going to be added together. So my equation is 0.25 miles. I'm letting the variable m stand for miles plus $28. Under Rocket Rental, it's almost the exact same. I just substitute how much they're going to charge per miles and how much they charge for gas. And then you can see at the very bottom there, I've set the two equations equal to each other because in the problem it said that the cost is the same. Where they're the same is where they'll be equal. So let's look to see how I solved this equation. I started with my given equation, and then I wanted to go ahead and collect all of the like terms that were ones together on one side of the equation. So to balance it, I took away 28 here and 28 here. Now, because that 28 is gone, the reason it's gone is because when I add 28 and negative 28, I get 0. And then when I add these two, I get 14. So I'm going to put that 0 down, even though it's not necessary to write it every time. I just want to make sure that you understand they just don't go away because I did them and crossed them out. They go away because they equal 0. And anything plus 0 means that it goes away. So there's my next line. I have everything brought down, including the answer to the subtraction problem. And then below that, I am going to subtract 0.20 miles from each side. Again, I do it on both sides to keep my equation balanced, if you think back to that balance beam. But the reason that I did that is I want to get all of the m's together. So it's like I'm combining like terms, but I'm moving it on the other side of the equation, so I have to take away the same amount on both sides. So my next step here has 0.05, that's the solution from 0.25 minus 0.2 to get m, and then I brought down the 14, the addition sign, and these two together gave me 0. So lastly, I have 0.05 times m equals 14, and I'm trying to isolate that variable m. So I have to think about the operation that's happening there with 0.05 and m, and remember that that was multiplication. So the opposite of multiplication, or the inverse operation, would be to divide both sides by 0.05, giving me the answer miles to 80. And I could use my calculator and take that 280 into this my original equation at the very top, and I could put that 280 in for m everywhere I see it, and see if indeed I would get the same number on the left side as I get on the right side. Lastly, I want to state that solution in a way that tells my teacher I understand what I've just done. The cost of each rental place will be the same when traveling 280 miles. Remember what you learned about checking for reasonableness. If that makes sense, that that's a reasonable amount of miles that people may travel, I didn't get a negative number, for example, or something that would be outrageous that you could never drive, I got a very simple number, 280. And that is reasonable, but plugging it in for m and solving both sides also helps to make sure that the answer makes sense. The next two questions I'll go through a little bit quicker. So Aiden is comparing the cost of ordering tea from two different online stores. T-Zone charges $2.25 per ounce plus a flat fee of $4 for shipping, and then another fee, $1.75 for handling. Total Tea charges $3.50 per ounce, but there's no charge for shipping and handling. They also offer $5 off the total cost for online customers. So I'm dealing with a couple of different things there. I noticed that Total Tea's charge per ounce is larger, but then they don't have that shipping and handling fee that T-Zone does. My question is saying to explain how Aiden can write and solve an equation to find the number of ounces of tea for which the total cost is the same in both stores. So here again, we're comparing the two to see what is the best deal. So I see what's given up there, what T-Zone is going to charge, and then what total T-Zone is, and I've kind of broken it down there for you. Notice that the $5 is off this time. It is not being added to the $3.50. It is something taken off my total bill. Then I think back to the question. They want to know the number of ounces where the cost of each is the same. That word same is going to give me a reason to set up two equations equal to each other. And I know I'm going to have two equations because I'm comparing two different store costs. So I need an equation for each tea company. So I've got T-Zone's equation there, and total T. Notice that I added the shipping and the handling to T-Zone, but under total T, they had a deal for taking $5 off. And then I set up each equation equal to each other. Now I chose to use an X instead of an O for ounce, just because O's get a little bit confusing with zeros. Okay, let's take that equation and solve for X. You can go through my math and see pretty much the same steps here. I'm collecting like terms across that equal sign to get all the X's together and all the 1's together. And then down here you can see the same thing. I'm going to combine like terms, subtracting by all the X's. When I get this all the way down here to this one-step equation, I'm trying to isolate the variable, which in this case is X. So I look to see what is with X, and that number is being multiplied to X. So using the inverse or opposite operation of division helps me find out that X is 8.6. The cost for both stores will be the same when you buy 8.6 ounces. So now Aiden just has to decide, is he going to need 8.6 ounces more, less? That's a problem for Aiden. The last problem was about Bella and Chandra. They're selling tickets to a music school recital, and Bella sells 12 tickets that are student tickets and 4 guest tickets. Chandra sells 8 student tickets and 7 guest tickets. The guest tickets cost $8 each, and both girls make the same, there's that important word there, they make the same amount of money from ticket sales. Now, I can't just pull out same, I have to use it in context. So, because both girls are the same, I know that Bella and Chandra's sales equal each other. I need to find the price of a student ticket and explain each step in your solution. So writing out this problem-solving plan serves as explaining each step. We've got what's given, what Bella sells, what Chandra sells, the guest cost for tickets, and we know that Chandra and Bella's sales are the same. So I need to know, the question is, how much are student tickets? So guess what? I'm going to make my variable S for student. I need to plan to write an equation for each, Bella's and Chandra's ticket sales. So Bella equals Chandra. I came up with this equation, 12 students and 4 guests. And Chandra's was 8 students and 7 guests. Oh, and they gave me additional information here. How many were the guest tickets? They were 8. So with the information I have, I can set those equations up equal to each other. But I can't isolate the variable and solve on this step because I have 2 different types of variables. And it would be impossible to isolate unless I know what one of those variables are. Luckily, I know guest equals 8, so I substituted an 8 in for G. 4 times G, 4 times 8. 7 times G, 7 times 8. So let's solve that equation. Notice that I went ahead and did the 4 times 8 is 32, and 7 times 8 is 57. I'm isolating the variable by combining like terms across the equal sign. To get rid of that 32, I subtract 32, and I do it on both sides to keep it balanced. Now I'm going to combine like terms across the equal sign, collecting all the S's together. When I do that, I come down to a one-step equation, 4S equals 24. That is 4 times S. The inverse operation of multiplication is division. So when I divide both sides by 4, I find out that S equals 6. And now to show my teacher that I understand what my answer is standing for, the cost of a student ticket is $6. I hope this helps. If you have questions, write your questions so you can ask your teacher in your large group meeting. Thank you.